When you're getting your head slammed on the ground after your nose has been broken, that's a pretty good reason to have fear of imminent injury. Then you're entitled to use force, including deadly force, to protect yourself.
And you're suggesting that's exactly what happened here?
That's exactly what happened.
That's Hal Uhrig, the newest member of the legal defense team in the killing of Trayvon Martin, speaking with NBC News today. He and his co-counsel, Craig Sonner, the man who fled from our studio in Florida last week because he was afraid to do an interview on this program, went in search of friendly interviewers last night on other networks. They ran into more of a challenge than they expected at CNN.
You've destroyed him. The media has just absolutely destroyed him unfairly. And the conclusions you're drawing in your questions to me show that you've already reached that same conclusion too. And what I want you to do, and I want America to do, is to step back, use your cool head, and listen to the facts.
But at Fox News, they were so confident the interview was going to be easy that they brought along the man who was paying their bills, Robert Zimmerman, the father of George Zimmerman, who shot and killed the unarmed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin.
What do you say to the president? What do you say to these members of Congress? What do you say to all these activists and people that have, quote, rushed to judgment here?
I just believe it's very sad that so many people are not telling the truth on purpose for their own agenda.
The answers didn't really matter much in the Hannity interview. Everything the defense wanted said was already in every single one of Sean Hannity's questions, including this lie.
This is confirmed. His nose was broken.
Joining me now are Natalie Jackson, co-counsel for the Martin family, and Charles M. Blow, a New York Times editorial writer. Thank you both for joining me tonight. Charles, it has not been confirmed that his nose is broken. In fact, let me go to Piers's question last night about what can they say about the broken nose. I think we have tape of that from CNN.
If you released a picture, an X-ray, of George Zimmerman's nose broken, that would be helpful to your case, I would argue.
Well, first of all, he's already been tried and convicted in the media. We're going to try this case in court, and all that evidence will be presented at that time, but not here and not tonight and not on this program.
Charles Blow, my feeling has been if they could say, we will produce medical records of him visiting an emergency room that night or the next day, or any doctor within 24 hours of this event concerning a broken nose, they would say they had the records. If they weren't really thrilled with how good those records were, they might not show them to us, but they'd say they have them if they have them.
Right. That is the crucial point here. Is there a broken nose? And if George Zimmerman's head was being smashed into the pavement, is there some evidence of a concussion? And those things can be proven. And if he actually did receive medical care, but what we know now is that the second ambulance was canceled because the person who was attending to George Zimmerman did not believe that he had sufficient enough injuries to warrant even an ambulance. And what we also know is that we see George Zimmerman 35 minutes after the fact. We see him not even reaching for the nose, not trying to. A broken bone is excruciating. There are a zillion nerve endings in the face. You would be in excruciating pain. We know that that is not what we see on the tape. We know that the one witness that was interviewed on CNN on Anderson Cooper's show said that the person, George Zimmerman, sprang up after the shooting, did not appear hurt. He never says that he reaches for his head. He never says that this person is holding their nose. None of that. So what we know flies right in the face of the idea that someone has a broken bone in the face, that someone has what we would think to be a concussion if they're slamming his head into the pavement over and over again. His brother says that if he had slammed it one more time, he'd have been being spoon-fed by his brother. That means you're this close to brain damage. That means that there should be some evidence, medical evidence. There should be some X-ray that will back up that assertion. Now, they may want to present that in court. They may not want to release the public. That's up to them. But what we know so far does not corroborate that set of events.
Natalie Jackson, two things. What would you take as proof that George Zimmerman suffered a broken nose that night, or even reasonable evidence tending toward proof? Don't even go to the proof beyond a reasonable doubt standard. And then secondly, In the representation of George Zimmerman at this stage, can you think of any conceivable defense reason why they wouldn't answer that simple question on CNN last night of, do you have any records? He wasn't asking them that they produce it and put it on the table on the show last night, but just answer the question, do you have any medical records of how this broken nose was treated? I cannot think of a single reason why a defense lawyer for Zimmerman wouldn't want to say now, if they had them, yes, we do have records of that. We will produce them in the right forum at the right time.
Well, let me first say, I don't think that George Zimmerman's lawyers are doing him any great service by going on the media and talking about his case. What the public does not know, and maybe some in the public don't know, is that the prosecutor, the special prosecutor in this case, is the person that will prosecute this case against George Zimmerman, and his attorneys will defend. When you see Ben and I on television, we are not a part of the criminal case. We are here, we are representing the family so that charges would be brought because there was probable cause for an arrest. Now, we believe that George Zimmerman deserves a fair trial just like everyone else. So when we talk about a broken nose and we talk about those things, that is for the defense to present in court so that the evidence can be evaluated by a jury. Now, do I personally believe that they have that record? I do not. I think that the way that they've conducted their case, and I mean the lawyers in this, they're presenting and they're putting evidence out in the public that they believe is favorable. I believe a lot of the things that they've put out are untrue. However, in the end, it's going to be up to a jury.
Yeah, Charles, I mean, listen, it would slow me down on this broken nose thing if they would just say, we have medical records that will satisfy everyone that he was treated for a broken nose as a result of this incident. The fact that they are not, the fact that they refuse every time they're asked the question about, I asked the empty chair the question when he walked out, do you have medical records of this? And the empty chair didn't answer either. It's the same thing. You get them on the show or not, it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, right. So, but they could have it. Let's leave that as a real possibility. They could have a record that says that the man has a broken nose. Even if he does, however, I mean, that helps the story. Even if he does, I think it's very important to remember that no one contests that there was some sort of physical altercation. Whether or not the stand your ground applies to Trayvon or to George Zimmerman is the question. Could Trayvon be legally protected for defending himself against a man who approaches with a gun who he does not know and gets within swinging distance of? So you can actually have a fight and have a broken nose, and it still does not prove that you are innocent.
Charles M. Blow.
And that's the point, Charles.
Go ahead, Natalie, quickly.
The point is, and that's the point that is getting lost. The point that's getting lost is that George Zimmerman was told to stay in his car. When he got out of his car, he had a 9mm as he chased down, according to his own words, Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was where he was supposed to be. He was not committing any crime, and he ended up, after an encounter with George Zimmerman, with a bullet wound in his chest. That is for a jury, and that is why this case must go to a jury, because you had an unarmed teenager where he was supposed to be.
Charles M. Blow and Natalie Jackson, thank you both very much for joining me tonight.